So you're live, Shiv, so feel free to get started whenever you want.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for your guidance. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the showcase. My name is Shiv Bakshi, for those of you who don't know me, and I work for Ericsson in what we call the Group Function Technology, or in simpler terms, the CTO's office. Ericsson, as you know, is a leading global vendor of mobile equipment, and um, we are present in as many as 140 or more countries. Um, while I personally regret that we are not having a live meeting in person, because Africa is one of the favorite places for me to visit, I must say that it's a tribute both to the ICT technologies and to the ingenuity of our friends at Forum Global, that they are not letting a minor incident like a global pandemic be an impediment to the meeting of hearts and minds. So, very happy that you are here. Delighted to sort of see you. And welcome to this showcase session. What we are going to do is you're going to sort of see um, me being accompanied by two of my colleagues, and I will introduce them as they are ready to present. But we are going to start with a small video on what is 5G. Then I'm going to have my colleague Shiletsi Makafone, who's the head of government and industry relations in Middle East and Africa, and is a veteran of the company and veteran of the industry. He has worked in several countries across Africa and is currently based in Johannesburg. He will speak to you about market developments and trends. He will introduce our Ericsson Mobility Report, and then he will talk about these trends. After that, you're going to sort of see another video, which will be about the future of flexible automation. After the 2-minute video, we will have my colleague, Amar Sabag, who's the head of business development, technology, and IoT solutions based out of Dubai, speak to the issue of how can 5G support industrial transformation and digital connectivity. Um, Following that, we will have another small video, and then we will all be available, all three of us, to sort of answer your questions. So, without further ado, let me ask Forum Global to roll the first video. This is about what is 5G and gives you some sense of what to expect in the unfolding universe, right, of technology. Thank you.
2G, 3G, 4G. They've all revolutionized the way we live our lives. And Ericsson has been leading the way. So when it comes to 5G, it's easy to think it's just another G. Well, it's not. With 5G, things will be faster, and we mean a lot faster. With global mobile data traffic doubling every 18 months, the world's demand for high-speed connectivity increases every second. And that's where 5G comes in, by efficiently providing the capacity for massive data growth. So what does this mean for you? It means high-speed connections for everyone always. Fast and uninterrupted sharing, streaming, and browsing, so that you'll never have to fight for data, no matter the competition. But it's not only about speed. 5G will reduce latency to a minimum, making delays virtually impossible to perceive. It means elevating reality even further. It means fiber speeds without fiber at home, for everyone everywhere. And with network slicing technology, every connected service can get its own unique part of a 5G network, fully dedicated and guaranteed for each specific purpose. It means the Internet of Things on an industrial scale, making society more sustainable, increasing resource efficiency, connecting vehicles to get there both faster and safer. It means protecting the most vulnerable road users, detecting accidents before they happen, and helping save lives with dedicated networks for critical services. With Ericsson's leading 5G technology paving the way, the full potential of connectivity is becoming reality. Join us. Let's explore 5G.
So, as you see, in our vision of this unfolding technology universe, 5G is going to change, radically change the way we live and the way we work and the way we play across the board. Great promise of the technology. But without further ado, let me welcome to the stage my colleague Shiletsi Makofone, who will talk to us about market developments and trends and give you a sense of the diffusion of technology in numbers. Shiletsi, take it away, my friend.
Thank you very much, Shiv, and colleagues. Thank you very much. It's good to be here this afternoon, this morning, for those ones that are in the morning. I would just like to highlight here, maybe before I start, to say my reflections will be around the Ericsson Mobility Report. And please feel free to download the report from the Ericsson website, which will be able to give you the broader perspective and also a little bit more details behind some of the numbers and some of the assumptions if you want to read in more detail. So if we move to the next slide. So I'll talk a little bit more about, just to give you a bit of an overview of the global data, and then give you a bit about the focus that we see going forward, and reflect a bit about the subscription and then also the COVID impact, as well as some of the conclusions. Given the time, I'll hint at key messages on that. So even if we move to the slide about Ericsson, I think you'll see it's more about our business, and I think we are a global business, and then driving the different business areas to be able to enable the industry, and then also with a quite wide footprint in terms of the countries, and then as well as the research and the patents that we hold. Then moving to the next slide in terms of the growth on data. So this shows you really that as we are moving recently, you'll be seeing a very big shift of growth of data in the 2018, 2019, as we were then producing the advanced LTE, and then also with 5G coming on board. And then I think we've seen then in early this year with the COVID impact, which I'll come to, that it's a bigger, much more higher growth that we are seeing on the mobile broadband happening. Then how do we see the focus in terms of the 5G going forward? In terms of the next slide, will show you a little bit more on how we see the global 5G market going forward into 2025. If you show us the next slide, then you'll see that 5G is expected into the 2025 to be able to really be on a growing. We're going to obviously see more subscription coming to enhance mobile broadband. And then one of the key things as well, we're going to start to see 5G covering more populations. And I'll come to the sub-Saharan Africa states in the next slide. But also here to highlight is that it's not only the growth in these numbers of traffic and the subscription, but we are starting to see this huge impact that we are forecasting that it will be able to have into the global economy. And I'll hint a little bit on some of the numbers that we are seeing going forward in terms of the industrial transformation. Then if we move to the next slide, then it is just to show you in terms of the mobile subscriptions across sub-Saharan Africa. If you look on the different areas of the world, and I think North America seems to be taking a lead there, where we are seeing that by 2025, you'll be seeing quite a bigger percentage of the 5G rollout there. And then if you look on the extreme left, you are seeing that in that 2025, sub-Saharan Africa is estimated to be only coming in around 3% of the subscription being the 5G. So I think this shows that there is a need out there, and there is an opportunity to be able to drive further policy to be able to fast track this, because we have seen the numbers in terms of what 5G will have from an impact of a GDP growth perspective or global economy. So therefore, these numbers is something that we are forecasting to the future, but I think there's a lot that needs to be created as well to be able to make sure that we can be able to even see the market going better into the future. Then if you go to the next slide, where we look into how we are then seeing the broader subscription from a sub-Saharan Africa perspective. There's close to 1 billion that we're expecting in the broader mobile subscriptions by 2025. And that largely out of that billion, and then I think it confirms the numbers that I just showed you, that about 31 million, which is a 3%, would be on 5G. And a lot of other technologies will be still driving this market to be able to grow according to our mobility report on our focus going forward. So it seems 2G will still be there into 2025 with a still larger 3G and the 4G, but we're going to start to see early introductions and significant numbers into the 31 million of the 5G. So then in the next slide, if you look into what are some of the key additions that we are seeing, and then this is talking to the top 3 countries in terms of the additions in 2020. We're seeing from sub-Saharan Africa that Nigeria has made a huge net additions into 6 million, and then also followed by South Africa. So that reflects again that sub-Saharan Africa is still a very growing market, and I think from our mobility report, we've seen year on year Nigeria really bring in a lot of being on the top in terms of the net additions from our mobility report perspective. So there is still a lot of underlying growth that we are still seeing in this market. Then turning into the next slide, just to talk a little bit about the COVID impact. I think all of us have faced the brunt of the COVID and the challenges that it has posed. It has been something that has suddenly changed the behaviors and changed the way we do things. And I think here I must compliment a lot of policymakers that have responded swiftly in terms of making sure that they are providing the right policy instruments to be able to support the industry to be able to respond to this pandemic. And during that, we have seen a surge in traffic in the markets where we have seen a big growth in traffic. And then also as people are moving more into the residential, you started to see a bigger change in terms of the traffic profile. And then I think between the industry and the policymakers with the measures that has been coming on, we've seen a lot of improvement in terms of making sure that as people are working from home, the kids are trying to learn from home, then the industry has been able to respond well there in terms of making sure that we get the economies moving and the country working within this pandemic. Then what does that mean? Obviously, it impacts on the change of behaviors, which is my next slide, that we've done a bit of a research on the next slide that is starting to show some of the changing consumer behaviors, where then we are predicting because of this post-COVID-19, we are going to see a lot of networks redefined. We are going to see a borderless workplace. I think there's a lot of digital transformation that is happening that has been driven by the businesses. And then also we're going to start to see the virtual reality and the virtual economy starting to come into place. So the post-COVID world will not be the same as the before-COVID world. And the big question is going to be, how does the industry respond to be able to make sure that we enable the society to continue being connected going forward? Then my next slide tries to show you in terms of now from a 5G perspective, in terms of the which my colleague will talk about broadly in the IoT. We are focusing that it's not only just 5G, but 5G will enable a transformation, will change other industries. And then this obviously represents a bigger revenue for the industry going forward. And our focus is that into 2030, we are going to see a 700 billion that we are forecasting is available for the operators to be able to work with. And then we have looked into the different sectors, and you can see the estimation in terms of the percentages on the different sectors, and my colleague will go into a little bit on that in the next presentation. And then on the next slide, I think we are going to see this 5G as well, unlocking the industry 4.0. And then I think this is where we are going to start to see smart manufacturing starting to take place. The digital world that has happened with COVID triggered a lot of digitization. And I think with this, we're going to see even more happening, and the IoT will cover a little bit on that. Then in my conclusion, I would just like to highlight that I think there is a demand. I think the pandemic that we just came up with has shown that ICT can be resilient. It is at a big demand. Our consumers need that. And then also looking into the 5G as well, one of the major things that 5G coming on board will be able to bring safer energies. And then also we'll be able to bring in much more other benefits in terms of high speed, low latency, reliability, and also the ability to be able to connect massive devices, IoT as well. And then my last slide is just to show how are we doing as Ericsson in terms of the 5G around the world. We're celebrating that we have got 5G live networks across the continents. And then we are now sitting into over 100 commercial agreements on 5G. And this is a very key milestone and also we are seeing Africa as well, that the number of markets has already started to drive this discussion. So thanks very much. And then with that, I will hand over back to Shiv and over back to you, Shiv, to take forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiletsi, for walking us through the presentation. Eric, Shiletsi mentioned the borderless workplace. And when I said that I was always very fond of traveling to Africa and I was not being able to do that because of this pandemic, many of you might have been wondering, where was I talking to you from? It's very early here on the east coast of United States near Philadelphia. And the borderless workplace, you can get an idea that I am based out of US right now. Shiletsi is in South Africa, and my friend Amar is talking to you from Dubai, while our hosts are sitting in London. This is the notion of the borderless workplace. Thank you very much, Shiletsi. Can we roll the next video, please? Thank you.
The benefits of factory automation with 5G is the gain of flexibility and mobility of the production equipment, such as robots adapted on HUVs. URLC is the basic for guaranteed data transmission and therefore the first requirement for personal safety applications.
5G URLC stands for 5G ultra reliable low latency communication. So the signal will never use more than 3 milliseconds, for instance. And that is actually the communication characteristics that are needed for certain applications, and Profinet is one of those.
Our goal with this URLC project was to showcase that we can run our regular automation in the factory with the wireless communication. And we needed determinism, which up to now Wi-Fi standards cannot provide.
But we are showing an example here that to transport safety protocols, the underlying mechanisms need to be very stable and reliable. And that is what 5G URLC brings. The demo shows a robot cell that is connected via 5G. And then we have a laser curtain that protects one side of the cell so that if someone reaches into the robot cell, and the robot stops, so that no one can get hurt. And the laser curtain uses ProfiSafe as a protocol to secure functional safety of an application.
In factory automation, having to synchronize all the machines, the robot equipments together with the PLCs, we need deterministic low latency communication. And up to now, this was only doable through wired networks. But if we want to be more flexible in the future, we need to omit those cables and we need to come to a wireless communication. This is something that in the end will then benefit the entire world that is working in production, because they will be able to use a 5G network to drive their operations.
Thank you. So without further ado, let me invite my friend Amar Sabag to come on the stage and make his presentation about how 5G can support industrial digital connectivity. Amar, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Shrev. Thank you. I'm very glad to be on this forum. And Africa has a lot of potential, especially in the industry 4.0. I mean, we talk all about consumer increase. Yes, please start the presentation. We talk about consumer, increases, the number of subscribers moving from 3 to 4G, 4G to 5G, which are very important. But there is a new trend that's happening, the IoT. I've seen a lot of growth in the IoT. I've been in South Africa, Angola, Ethiopia, and talking to several colleagues in Nigeria and Kenya. There is a lot of growth on IoT. And on the 5G, there's a new thing, and I'm sure you are aware of it, the private networks. Private networks are important for agriculture. We did a pilot in Morocco for greenhouse, and that was totally connected on NB-IoT, which is 3G, 4G ready. And we showed the savings on the water consumption, on the soil, and on the production of the crops. If we can just go to the first slide, please. What I want to share with you, why 5G is different. And, it's not only the bandwidth. Bandwidth is nice, you can stream and do whatever, but it's more important is the latency. And now the latency with the 4G is around 50 to 100 millisecond. With the 5G, we are achieving 15 millisecond, and we are dropping next year to 1 millisecond. The mobility for trains, for rails, even for flights. I mean, we worked with Air France now to connect on 5G. We have some other requests so on the plane, you will have 5G going. The density is important. The bandwidth, I'm not going to go. The position accuracy is very, very important. And it's 1 meter and it's dropping even. And that's important to areas where you don't have GPS coverage. In the warehouses, under the big cranes, in the mines, you can have pinpoint the workers in the mine where they are by that much accuracy. And that's very important to save lives and to do assets tracking. The availability is high and the battery life. Next slide, please, because I try to put some slide. They are a teaser. So if you want more information, you can reach me directly or Shaletzi or Shive, and we can share more information and more in depth. Here, I just want to highlight it's a journey. So we had massive IoT, and that was a smart city, sensors, lightings, smart lighting, and stuff. Now we're moving to broadband IoT, and you see some use cases, augmented reality, virtual reality, drones flying, which are very good. But now we are moving to the 5G, release 16, where we are talking about remote control. The latency is very optimized, and the collaboration between the robots, where you saw in the factory in Germany, is needed. That they communicate with each other. So that's happening now. We are talking about industrial automation. We don't want to fool ourselves, but we want to be ready to start the transformation next year. This year, we are doing a lot of pilots, a lot of testing, learning. Release 16 is coming. One of the important things is the TSN, the time-sensitive networking. And the other one is Ethernet connection, because a lot of industry equipment and PLCs are Ethernet ready. So we are where we are now. We are hitting the 10 millisecond, but on the way we're moving to 1 millisecond. So I hope, it's not totally there, but we are driving to it. And to do a pilot, I've done several pilots in the ports and oil and gas. It takes 6 to 9 months. So we need to be ready to test to make sure that we can do the transformation. On the next slide, what I will show you, it's busy, I apologize about it, but what I want to talk about, on the left-hand side, if you focus with me, we have the ecosystem of manufacturing or the industry. From the bottom, the sensors or the robotic arms, They all connected on a serial connection, a PLC, the control connection, which is the old industrial connection. Then you have the mechanical ordering, like on and off, that's it. And then you have the data, the ERP, the data connection, whether it's a manifesto or other things, like that. Where we want to migrate, thank you. Where we want to migrate is to connect all the sensors with a 4G, 5G network. We want to have collaboration across all the layers. And now I'm talking to one German company who manufacture sensors for flappers and for on and off for the storage, for the liquids. And they said, we are moving everything to be really connected, cellular connected because it's secure. And we want to move everything to the cloud. And I cannot do that. I need your help to have it to the cloud for automation and for maintenance prevention. I put down what it means. The control type is changing from cloud to robotics, the monitoring and the mobility, because also AGVs is autonomous gantry vehicle. Anyway, those are the cranes that move around the port or the factory, and those are cabled with Ethernet and fiber. And talking to those industries, they told me, look, we need flexibility. This is tying us very closely to this fiber thing. Whenever we want to expand, we have to put a duct, fiber, routers. With the 5G, you are dropping a device and boom, the whole factory is flexible. We have done examples with Mercedes-Benz S-Class, the new factory of the future. This is totally connected over 5G, and it will provide them with flexibility. They can change models, they can change assembly very fast. Expected 10 to 15% efficiency. And the reliability of 5G, we are all in the spectrum, and the cellular is more than Wi-Fi, is more flexible than the cabling. On the next slide, I will just go a little bit deeper, but lightly. I want to talk about private network. I mean, yes, Africa maybe is coming now with 5G, but there is a huge potential on the 4G. On the left-hand side, you see the global, and what you can see, I'm colorblind, sorry, but the green line, it shows that the private network will exceed the traditional mobile network. And we want our partner, the operators, to capture this market. On the right-hand side in our market area, MEA region, we see the growth of that. And I tell you, now I have 7 RFPs for private networks, 2 of them in Middle East and 5 in Africa. So there is a huge growth, and we are working with our operators, because Ericsson's strategy is to work with the partners, the operators. We're working with the operators to beef them up, to get them ready in Nigeria, Angola, Mozambique, South Africa, Ethiopia, to see there is potential. Who are the drivers for this? Oil and gas companies and mining companies. They are saying, we want industrialization. We are moving from the cabling and all the mess. We want mobility, and we want 4G with the capabilities of growing to 5G. So this is just a teaser, and this is a report we can share. On the next slide, I will show you where the biggest demand we see from industry. So you have the manufacturing, you have the airports. We have around 50 live networks with these entities. I will drill down on 3 selected entities that are relevant to African market. So on the next slide, I'm focusing on the ports. If you have the remote control of gantry, you have connected autonomous gantry vehicle, you have the intelligent video surveillance, whether it's a camera or a drone. On the right-hand side, you have the autonomous trucks, which are very important now coming to ports, and the connected workers. This is for safety, security, and productivity. But what I have put on the top, the 5G attributes. So the positioning, the connection density, the low latency, and how it relates. So when a port says, I want a private network, we start the conversation. Okay, what are the use cases you want to run so I can design the network for you? It's different than the commercial network that I do it for coverage. This is for high density, high availability, and secure network. And this is the important part this private networks plays in. Definitely, 4G can meet it. So if they want just the intelligent video surveillance, okay, we can do it with 4G. No need for 5G. But if you want to have some, remote controls or autonomous, you have to have the 5G. And we have, 5G in a box as Ericsson that's, predefined, pre-configured, but the spectrum stays with the operator. So we work with our partners, the operators, to really address the industry market. On the next slide, I just want to show what we have done with Port of Qingdao. Port of Qingdao is in China, and they have on these big, huge cranes, they have like 20 to 24 cameras. And those are all HD cameras putting the feed to the controller. The operator who used to sit on the crane, now does not sit on the crane, sits on the ground somewhere. And he connects all these 20 cameras via fiber. We moved the fiber, we removed the fiber, we put 5G. So they wanted latency below 18 milliseconds, we achieved it. They wanted around 200 MB uplink, we achieved it. And the result was 70% potential in saving in labor cost. So like 20% in OPEX and 20% in CAPEX. We did it with China Unicom, the operator, and Port of Qingdao, and the manufacturer of these cranes. On the next slide, I will just show another example of oil and gas, which is, I believe, very relevant to Africa. There is a big growth in oil exploration in Africa. So there are multiple of use cases. Some of them are for the offshore, some of them for the onshore. I will not get into details. I'll go to the next slide where I'll show you what we have done. In the Gulf of Mexico, in southern US, we have there's several, as you see, like tons of rigs in the sea, and all of them connected by microwave or fiber. So they really came a request to us and said we really need a 4G network that's migrated with a growth to 5G. So in 2018 we connected all these rigs with 4G, sorry. And the use cases for that, they said we want to do telemedicine, we want to do security, so we wanted to have drones going around, and we wanted to have operational efficiency. I said, what about the fiber? They said, fiber, sometimes we have cuts. Fiber, sometimes we don't have fiber connectivity, so we really need, cellular. And the cellular, we are doing it with microwave, by the way. And the last thing is we want to have different networks. One for the operation, so that means automation, sensors, and one for communication. So this is where we played a major role, and they found all the advantages. On the next slide, I went into the mining industry. Mining industry is very serious. I mean, last year I got a call from Saudi. The operator said, I need use cases. I said, for what? He said, for assets tracking, because we lost 2 workers in the mine. They suffocated. We turned off the HVAC and we did not know where they are. So here is the same thing. You have the connected vehicle in the mine, so you know where they are, and they are huge trucks, as you know, in mining. And then we need the hazardous and maintenance to know the real time of the equipment diagnosis, because they overheat. You really need to connect those equipment. And we are not connecting them, you are not connecting them. The industry is connecting them. ABB is shipping equipment that are SIM ready. Volvo is shipping big trucks that are SIM ready. So those mines are saying, just give me the connectivity. I know what to do with it. And the remote operation, the autonomous robotics, and monitoring and tracking. So all of this are really needed, for the industry. We just need to be ready to have the offering. It is challenging to offer, private network, because it's a different model of pricing. It's a private network as a platform. So we are working with operators, developing the go-to-market and the business model and the technology solution. But the key things here are industry is ready, and we don't think in Africa they are not ready. 100% they are ready. We are talking to one of the major oil company in the world, and Africa and Middle East are the highest on their agenda, and they want connectivity. And everybody is modernizing their field. We need to be ready, telecom operators and vendors, to address the market need. The next slide, if you don't mind, please, this is what we have done in a mine in in Sweden. What happened is, in the mine, they do some explosion, and you have to wait like 2 hours or 3 hours before you can send any workers there. So what we have done, the Epiroc is the drilling machine that drills in the mine. We managed to control it over 5G. So we have remote control sitting up to 1,500 kilometers away, drilling and continuing all the work without any hazard to the workers. So we see a 10% saving in production and revenue. So this is a live project. We have other projects in Australia and in Canada. The next slide is what I wanted to show. It's what I wanted to highlight here is the 3 key things to address Industry 4.0 or industry automation. Knowledge, so you need to do POC, practice, do demos, you learn, you publish white papers, you share knowledge. We talk to the academia to get the information. Second thing is the solution. You need to have flexible solution, 4G, 5G, private network, and augmenting the existing network that they have. Partners are very important. So what we have done, we signed a lot of agreements, with major partners, and those are new for our industry. ABB, and Volvo and Bosch. They manufacture the sensors, and they do the application, they manufacture the equipment. So we have done this. On the last corner, we have different model of private network. No need for details, but it could go from just a radio dedicated as a private network for the factory or the mine or the port, or to provide packet core on site for latency use cases, or provide packet core and push to talk, because they want push to talk, and we are replacing Tetra with the private network. Or if they want totally isolated network, maybe there's no coverage for the public network, so you just have a complete dedicated network for the industry. So those are the 3 key things: knowledge, solution, partners, to have the successful transformation for Industry 4.0. Thank you very much. This is my short presentation. Each slide has a big story behind it. So if you like to expand, it's my pleasure. Back to you, Shai.
Thank you very much, Amar. This is fascinating. Thank you for giving us a teaser, as you said, about what is the potential of 5G for efficiency, for safety, for integration of various elements of a process in the industries, various industries that you're engaging with. Thank you for that. And without further ado, I will now invite our colleagues at Forum Global to run the last video, which will talk about the future of manufacturing and give you a little bit more sense of that specific thing. These are very slickly produced, so they're a delight to watch. Please, let's enjoy them, and then we come back for a short question and answer session. Thank you.
We are a technology leader, and we need to be able to shape the technology that we need, but also to get access to the latest technology. With a company like Ericsson, we can reform how it is done. Together we can shape the future of 5G for our customer.
We have industry customers, it's oil and gas, process industries, we have production, manufacturing, automotive, robots. It's a quite wide business for us. There is, in our domain, a need for a robust, reliable, but also low latency wireless solution. And 5G has a good potential to be one of the main technologies there. You cannot be expert in everything, so you need to connect with good partners. And this is what ABB doing with Ericsson. ABB needs to and has been part of the process to shape 5G, and we would like to continue to do that. The key things to be worked on next on 5G are the synchronization of time. We need that in our applications, both on the smart grid side, but also on production and manufacturing areas. The second topic there is to be able to integrate it with our systems. 5G will not be the only solution in our factories. It will be a mixture of networks and systems. And 5G needs to be integrated to our systems, both on the management side and on the data plane side. And here we're using a standard solution like TSN and OPC UA protocols. They need to play together well. It will enable our customers to come out with more fine-tuned automation systems, which are more efficient, and that will give them better products and to a lower cost. Every day is a new challenge, and it's really a positive challenge.
We need to take technology much faster into the application and faster to market to be able to survive in the future. Collaboration is the key of it.
Thank you. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we are open for questions. Shiletse, can you join us? Amar, can you join us? Thank you. And if you have any questions, how will that work, Dan? Will people type in? Will people?
I posted the questions in the private chat, Shiv. So if you look in the private chat, I think you've seen the answer one already. So they're in there.
All right. So let's start with the last one that I'm reading. What time frame, Amar, for 5G to enable similar case studies and use cases in Africa?
Look at how the required clouds are designed.
Time frame. I mean, what does that mean? Time frame.
When can we see these deployments picking up pace on African continent?
It's happening now. That's what I was trying to say.
Good.
We're already engaged. We already see the use cases, and things are happening on the ground, frankly. And that's what I'm trying to say, that it's not a wish list. It's a reality. It's a reality now. I see the first network could be ready by Q1, up and running on oil and gas private network.
Excellent. Excellent. So, Shiletse, you talked about 5G deployments across the world. So somebody raised this question: what impact might COVID have on the deployment of 5G in terms of the speed of deployment in the long term? Perhaps there might be delays in the immediate future, but after that, could we see a actual speed up of overall deployment? What do you think, Shiletse?
Shiletse's unfortunately just dropped out, I think, Shiv. So we'll try and get him back now. So
let me.
I don't know if you can address that question possibly, and we'll try.
Let me then address it. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Dan. So that is the perception that everybody has, that because of COVID, things are going to slow down. But it is very surprising to sort of point out that while there are lockdown orders, while there are working from home practices being put in place for social distancing and this and everything else, the deployment and running of networks continues at a clip pace. 5G is no exception. So if you look at the leading countries that are currently deploying 5G, the deployment is continuing at a very clipped pace across the world in some of these leading countries. And what is more interesting is that Ericsson is signing on contracts practically, I would like to say, on a daily basis. So I think that while the perception exists that COVID and the pandemic might actually disrupt and delay, I don't think that is a very valid view of the world when it comes to essential services and future planning, which 5G brings to the table. Shiletse, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think thanks very much, Chief, for that. I think if you look into what COVID is bringing up, basically COVID is one of the major drivers now for digital transformation, because of it is now has pushed the boundaries in terms of individuals to remain connected, because everybody has been locked down, but the need for communication, the need for social interaction, the need for business, and many more other things had to be fulfilled. So we couldn't, during that lockdown, stop everything. And we have seen how this COVID sparked that. And I think it's even going to be more faster. And I made a point that policymakers came to the party by even providing necessary relief measures, because those were very important to make sure that the industry and the operators can be able to meet the demand. And from my slides, you have seen how mobile data grew during the COVID period. So yeah, I think it is the beginning. I don't think the behaviors of the people will go back, and we even don't know when this COVID will be over. So therefore, this journey is just the beginning to be able to make sure that we enable this world to be really using digital as a way to be able to better and make it easier some of the challenges that we are facing as a humanity today, and also keep people safe and keep our health in check as well.
Thank you, Shiletse. Ladies and gentlemen, we will soon run out of time, but before we do that, I wanted to sort of make the point that you will find these presentations by Shiletse and Amar available to you, and I'm going to add to that a presentation on 5G that will give you a more comprehensive sense of what the technology and the market trends and the technology trends are with respect to this, with respect to 5G. So I just want you to know that. Getting on to the next question, is there any specific, and Amar, it goes to you perhaps, is there any specific low-cost solution for African needs? Because we keep listening about automation, and perhaps you can highlight that this efficiency that automation brings is going to sort of create, you know, less expensive products, easier to produce, and at a mass level. So perhaps you can address that.
I mean, I have two ways to address it. One, on the bigger scale, the 4G networks. And I know that we are working on something specific for Africa to target the low ARPU and to encourage the migration from 3G to 4G, because it will create operational efficiency and cost saving for the operators. On the other side, the private network, where I want to encourage, if you see a need that you want to cover a city or an area that's really critical with the high bandwidth that will not impact your network, our private network is very optimized, is this bare bone version to ensure you deliver the voice and the data and the connectivity that's needed for these small. And then it can grow to a bigger network if needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other question that we have is, how can Ericsson support with 5G the broadcast industry, especially in Africa? That is a fascinating question, and I thank whosoever raised it. We are finding out that the European broadcasters, to give an example, are actually beginning to sort of look at 5G technologies as a way of doing their broadcasting, their streaming, their availability, making it available to everybody that they want to reach, and in fact, to grow their market. So think about it. The difference between broadcasting and telecommunications has been eroded in the sense that broadcasting is not merely a one-way transmission, while telecommunication was a two-way transmission of interaction. Broadcasting today is the same as telecommunications in the sense that there is a lot of interactivity being built in. 5G is a set of technology protocols. It's a set of equipment elements that allow for this dialogue between various players, right? And as a transmission technology, it is absolutely in place to sort of serve the needs of broadcasting, which is why the broadcasters are beginning to look at that. Has a sizable progress been made on that? Not yet. We are still working out the possibilities. But as convergence between various sectors takes place, the equipment that is used to transmit and receive information can provide tremendous efficiency to the broadcasting industry. The separation of these two industries is historical, right? Because the technology possibilities were not there. There is the choice of different spectrum bands dedicated to these industries, broadcasting versus telecommunications versus mobile, and so on and so forth. With convergence on the technology level, we can actually definitely use 5G equipment to serve the needs of broadcasters, and we are exploring that, and we are running a few early stage discussions to be able to sort of do that at a larger scale. So thank you for raising that question, much appreciated. And with that, I suspect, Dan, we are running out of time if your notes to me are any indication. Would that be true? Or do we have time for another question?
We are, unfortunately. I think we are running out of time, so I think we are going to have to wrap up there. Apologies. So yeah.
So thank you, Dan, for making this possible. And thank you, Amar and Shiletsi, for joining me. And thank you to the audience for actually spending the time with us. Much appreciated. So on that cheerful note, we will conclude this session. And I will expect that you will take the trouble of looking at some of the presentations that we will make available for you to download before the end of this conference. Thank you very much once again. And with that, have a good day, sir, and ladies and gentlemen.